Hello guys and welcome to my new tutorial of Houdini. Today I'll be teaching you a little bit about the very basics of Houdini. So the first thing for the newcomers is, well, y'all must be thinking, what is Houdini? So y'all might have heard about softwares like Maya, Max, Blender, and like that Houdini is a 3D animation software where we can do loads of stuff like modeling, texturing, lighting, rigging, and it's mainly known for effects such as explosions, water, which we call flip fluids in Houdini, destruction, grooming, and many more. So at first, I've heard many people say that Houdini is very tough and I just don't want to get into it. But once you get a hang of it, you'll understand that it's very logical and it's not that tough really once you put your mind to it. So, unlike softwares like Maya, Max, and Blender, Houdini is a node based software. So if any of y'all have used Nuke, y'all will know what I mean by node based, or even if y'all have used the hypershade in Maya, then you'll understand what I'm saying by nodes. Also, Houdini is a procedural software, unlike the rest. What I mean by that is I have to create nodes, and each node is linked to the other node. So from A, I go to B, from C, I go to D. It's very procedural. Unlike, say, if I want to model something in Maya, where it's not very procedural, I can just go in any way I want. In a procedural modeling, you need a clear plan of what you really want to model. So let's get familiarized with the UI. So this is our viewport. On the left we've got a few of our tools. We can select and right click on it and select what we want to select, like points, edges, vertices, or whatever we want. On the top we have our shelves where we can create our objects and polygons. Over here on our bottom right, we have our node network where we will be seeing and creating and editing all our nodes. Above that is our parameters tab where we will be editing each and every parameter of our node. So for example, our translate, scale, rotate, just to mention a few. So here we have a few more of our tools where we can edit the display of our viewport. So let's get started and create a box. So I can select where I want to place the box, and here it has been created. If you see here, we have our first node. This is our geometry node. Now here we are in our object level. This is our, as you can see here, our OBJ network. If I double click inside our geometry network, we get another box. Well, you'll be wondering, why are there two boxes? I can see only one. Well, this is just our, let's say, group, if you can understand that, and this is our actual box where I can put down multiple more nodes to make changes to our box. Say I want to transform it, I can easily transform it by moving it here, or say I want to increase the scale, I can easily do that. Now I can also do that from my viewport. Now you will see what happens if I did not have the transform node. Now let's say I want to transform it from my viewport. Well, how do I do that? I can either go here, unlock it, and select my cursor. Let's select our entire polygon. I want the top one and I can select this and I can press T for my transform and I can just move it wherever I want. Now if you see, it has put down a node on its own called the edit node. So this will be storing our transform data. It's the same as our transform node which we put. So we can change our scale, rotate, we can do whatever we want with our object, and I can lock it back. I can scale it from here by pressing E, R for rotate, T for the entire translate. Now if you want to look at the wireframe, you can just press W, and now you can look at the wireframe of our geometry. Now let's go ahead and delete this. Now we can create several of our geometry from our shelf, or what we can do is put down a geometry node and we can go inside this and create our own primitive. It's the same thing. So let's say I want to create a tube, and here I've got a tube. So I can scale it, rotate it, or whatever I want. If say I want to fill this, I can press on end caps and I've got my cylinder. I can again transform this and I can scale it however I want. So let's go ahead and delete this. I can put down a cube for now, and if I want to duplicate this, I can alt and just put this here. Let's keep this, and now you'll see that we have only one cube in our viewport. Why is that? That is because only one cube has the display tab on. So each node in our object network or a geometry comes with this set of tabs. So we can select this, but if I display this, you can see that our cube on the right has gone. So I can select on the purple tab, and here you can see that the purple tab on our left has gone. So if I wanna click that, I can control click on that rather. So if I control click on the right one, we can see both of our cubes. Another way to easily do this is by putting down a merge node. I can simply merge those and I can view both of them by viewing the merge node. And now I have both my cubes. The yellow tab is for disabling the node. As you can see, and this tab is for locking a node. So what we can do is also put down a grid. I can scale both my boxes up. So I've shift selected them and I can move them up so that it looks like it's there on the ground. And we can put down our grid on the merge node right here. And let's go back to our object level. And now I've not talked about levels. So this is our object level. You can see when I click on the object, we get many other networks. So let's go over a few of them. Our image network is for compositing. Our mat is for materials. We are on our object level where we can create our geometry. Our out is for rendering, and the shop is an old network which is also for materials and various other things. Now if I go inside this is known as the SOP level or the surface operator level. If I put down a node called the DOP network, not the DOP import, the DOP network, and I double click inside it, this is where our simulation occurs usually. And now you can see we are inside our DOP network, and this is known as the DOP level or as the dynamic level, as you can see here. This is where as you can see, if I right click here, we have lots of solvers and lots of options for our gas and many solvers like our smoke solvers, pyro solvers, and many which we will be using soon. So let's go back. Now let's go back to our object level and let's create a light. So I can go ahead and create an area light by clicking over here, and you can see we can put down the area light right here. We can rotate it and I can move it around, and let's increase our intensity to about 10, and I can alt click to duplicate this, and I can move this about right here. So we've got two lights. Quite good. Now let's go ahead and try to render this out. But first what I'm gonna do is use a few of our materials. So if I go to the material palette here, we have an entire material palette right here. So what I can do is drag and drop any one of the materials I want. Let's drag and drop the concrete, and let's see which one we want. Let's put plastic down. So now if I go back to our object node, I can go ahead and select our geometry. Now from here I can go and select the material, but this will be the same material applied to all of our objects. So let's say I go ahead here and click on concrete. Now concrete will be applied to all of our objects. So let's go on our route node where rendering occurs, and let's put down a node called mantra. Let's render to mplay. Now you'll see nothing will happen. That is because we haven't set up our camera. So I can go back to our object level and set up a camera. And here we have our camera. If I go here and click on cam 1, you can see this is our camera view. If I go and say tie view, I can move around with the camera and I can move it wherever I want. Let's say we want to render it from here. So now we go to our route network and say render to mplay. Let's see what we get. So now as you can see, we're getting something like concrete, as we had put the concrete material over all of our objects. You can click around and so you can render this area first, give it more priority over the rest. Now as you can see, it's taking a bit of time, and you can see we've got our first render right here. It doesn't look bad. The concrete has got nice texture with a few bumps, and I'm gonna cancel this and go back to our object level. Now if I want individual materials, what I can do is cancel this, go here and put down a node which is known as the material node. So now here I can select the concrete I can duplicate it by alt clicking, and I can select here, say, plastic. You can see immediately our color has changed. Now I can again duplicate it and put it on the other box. Now the next thing I want to do is say I don't want the yellow color. How do I change that? Well, as I said, we go on our material network, we can go on our plastic and change our base color to, let's say I want something pinkish. That's done. And now I can go on my out node and I can say render to M-play. It's gonna take a bit of time to open the window, and once it does that, you can see it's immediately rendering. And now as you can see, our cube and our grid has got a different texture. So here we've got a plastic cube on a concrete ground. So you can play around with the lighting and different materials, and you can choose different lights such as your distant light, environment light, or skylight. And you can see here we haven't got the UV very correctly, but that's fine. It's styling a bit. I'm gonna let this render now, and let's see what we get. So let's see the final result. So as you can see, after a good 5.5 minutes, we've got our first complete render. It took a lot of time with this, and as you can see in our rendering tab, we had ray tracing on. We can change it to say physically based rendering and see how much time that would take. Usually I use physically based rendering for particles, but you can try different rendering engines also, and you can see which one really works for you. And you can see which one takes a lot less time, but for nice shadows, ray tracing is a good option. So I hope you like this tutorial, and do leave a like and a comment if you learned something of value today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And do subscribe to our channel for many more Houdini videos related to destruction, flip fluids, and many more effects. Thank you and have a great day.